Hello students, welcome to the Four Gospels. Now I'm sorry I can't be there in person. There's only one of me and it's apparently needed everywhere. So you are going to get this class via video here. Now the last class I will be there for and I will help you out with that, or at least I hope so. However, I'm not sure who I got to be able to kind of facilitate and run these videos, but whoever it is, make sure you listen to them. They're there to keep you on task and be able to answer any questions you may or may not have. So let's go ahead and begin. So we're studying the four Gospels. This is the first four books of our New Testament. Now these books are very significant because they are four different perspectives on Jesus Christ and his life. Some of these books are very similar in terms of their stories. Some of them have slight differences, but nothing that is actually would be in conflict with each other. Some of them are written to different audiences, and of course they're written by different authors. Now, we're going to be looking at these Gospels. They are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Now, in just a few moments, you're going to actually watch a different video that is done by the Bible Project. I just figure instead of recreating the wheel, you should just watch this. It's full of animations. It kind of gives a really good summary here. But you're also going to do a little bit of Bible reading. Now, don't worry. It's not a lot. It's just to get you kind of exposed. If you want to do more at home, I encourage you to do so. You should know your Bible. So, without any further ado, the facilitator, will you go ahead and at the end of this video, click on the other tab that is Matthew, which should be, I believe, chapters 1 through 13, and go ahead and click on it. Now, students, it's only an 8-minute video, but it gives you a great synopsis of the book of Matthew. So, what should you look for, students? Well, you want to look for a few things. So as you watch this video, ask yourself, who is the author? Who is the audience that it is written to? And what is the perspective of Jesus? You see, the different books will kind of angle out on who this person was. Now remember, just because you might wear different hats doesn't mean that it is untrue or that another book is an error. No, it just means that they're just pointing at a different aspect of this person's life. So here with the book of Matthew, again, watch for who is the author, who is this written to, and how are they portraying Jesus. All right, so facilitator, go ahead. This is about to end, and allow the other video, go ahead and put up the other video to play. See you real soon. All right, so hopefully you got a great synopsis of that, of the book of Matthew. Now we're going to do a little bit of Bible reading here. So grab a Bible. You can use your phones. You can use your, you grab a Bible from the stack that I should have right there on the table for you. And you open up to the book of Matthew, and I want you to read the first chapter. Now go ahead and take about 2-3 minutes, read that chapter. If you are a fast reader, go back and read it again and look for things that are kind of seem to be unusual. For example, you're going to find a bunch of names listed in the book of Matthew. Now ask yourself, why is that? In the video, you probably should have saw that the book of Matthew is written by Matthew, or at least that's what they believe, written to a Jewish audience, which the Jewish people were very big on their heritage. But it also was framing Jesus as the Messiah King. Now, to be a king, you got to prove that you are of royal blood. So there is actually a lot of purpose there. But as you read, see if you notice a few things about who was listed. Was it just men? Was there any women? Was it only Jewish people? Or were there some Gentiles? So go ahead and read through it and see if you can pick them out. You might have to remember some of your Sunday school to see them. But read chapter 1, and then with your friends, discuss for about 2 minutes. And then the facilitator will restart this video, and we'll move on to chapter 2. So facilitator, go ahead and hit pause. All right, so I hope you had some good discussions, and I hope you picked out a few things, such as you've seen Rahab, who was at the Battle of Jericho, or the fact that David, they kind of made a point to bring out that he was the one who actually murdered Uriah and actually kind of messed up. There's a lot of whole story on that. But hopefully you saw that even though it was a bunch of names, that you see that the author made a point of showing Jesus is actually royal blood. If anything, he has a claim to the throne. But I'm sure you also probably saw what we call the Christmas story about the angel talking to Mary, about Jesus being born. But I bet you did notice one thing in terms of that nativity story. Where were the wise men? Because you see, in a lot of our telling of the story of Jesus' birth, we always put the wise men there at his birth. But as you see, they weren't actually there. And for a variety of reasons. Right now, I want you to read chapter 2. And here you will see what happened to where the wise men fit into this story and why that is important. So facilitator, feel free to go ahead and pause again, and let's look at chapter 2. Go ahead and pause now. All right, we're back. You just read chapter 2, and now I wonder what you kind of noticed. Now, hopefully you did talk to your friends about what you've read and what you found was interesting. But here in chapter 2, you will see that the wise men honestly came when Jesus was about 2 years old. So he wasn't a baby. He wasn't there at the birth. The wise men didn't come until years later. Now, Pastor Luis does a really good sermon about the fact that it wasn't just 3 wise men. We just assume that because of gifts. There was honestly possibly like about an army of 2,000, maybe 3,000 men at this location. So it definitely was a spectacle. But you probably also noticed that Jesus' life also from his birth was filled with a lot of danger. That after the wise men visited, they had to escape to Egypt. And then he came out of Egypt and returned to a place called Nazareth. Now from here, Jesus' life begins, and they kind of fast forward a little bit to when he's an older child, and then they fast forward again to when he's an adult, and then you see Jesus' ministry in the book of Matthew. So that is just an overview. I encourage you, go read these little pieces. They're very interesting. I bet a lot of you would even identify, because it does bring out a little bit of Jesus when he was around your age. But this is how he started, and this is how Matthew started the story of Jesus. They wanted to show his lineage as a king, but they also wanted to show some parallels of what the Jewish people went through. So, at this point, go ahead and pause this video again. And facilitator, go back over to the Bible Project and watch the video on, I believe it's Matthew 14 to the end, which is Matthew 28. So it's another about 8-minute video, and you'll get the second half of these Gospels. Go ahead and pause now. All right, welcome back. All right, so that was, hopefully you got a kind of a good synopsis of what Jesus experienced in his life, including the crucifixion and resurrection. What we're going to finish off this class today is reading Matthew 28. Now, this actually has to deal with the resurrection, all right? So I want you to read what happened during the resurrection, and I want you to focus on the Great Commission. Because you see, the Jewish people were tasked that they were supposed to be a light to the world. But because throughout history they didn't really do that very well, God extended it to his entire church. And I want you to see that here in the Great Commission about, in your going, make disciples. And in your small groups, I want you to kind of talk about, with the person next to you, about what does it mean to share the gospel with people? And that's the question you answered. Now, facilitator, depending on the time frame we have left, this might only go for about a few minutes. If it seems like it's a good discussion, feel free to let this go on as long as you want. But go ahead and close in prayer if you have enough time, and feel free to take some prayer requests. So students, I hope you learned about the book of Matthew, and facilitator, thank you very much. But go ahead, read 28, talk about the Great Commission, and that will conclude the class on Matthew today. Next week, we will have a video series on the book of Mark. We'll see you again.